Namaste. Welcome to the weekly geopolitical commentary, in which we'll discuss the events happened in the last few days and if they are going to have any impact on India in the future, on a geopolitical or in a business sense. So, in this video, we'll discuss more about the impeachment proceedings against French President Emmanuel Macron and the kind of conflicting situation between Egypt and Ethiopia in the eastern part of Africa and the recently concluded elections in Azerbaijan, where the current ruling party has won again. And we'll also discuss the trip of Mr. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, to Mongolia. So let's go. And if any of these things are going to have any impact in the future on India. First, we'll discuss the impeachment proceedings against the French president, Mr. Emmanuel Macron. Now, if we go back to some of the reports which have come, especially the French president's party has lost the elections and it secured, I think, third place in the recently concluded parliamentary elections behind the left wing coalitions and I think the far right coalition led by Marine Le Pen. And third is the Mr. Macron's party. So, as per the French constitution, a prime minister has to be appointed, and Mr. Macron has refused to appoint the prime minister from the left wing party, as far as I understood. And these parties have decided to remove him, and they have um, brought the impeachment motion. Now, I can make a separate video that this impeachment motion will not going to make any results. Mr. Macron is not going to be removed because the procedure is very lengthy and the kind of support requires will be difficult to obtain. However, this is going to create a political turmoil in the France, and in the way the world geopolitics is shifting, France is already losing influence in Africa against Russia and China. As I made a video about Sahel region, the link is given in the description. And the further turmoil in the French politics makes French look weaker, and they are not able to make decisive actions about the things happening across the world. And for India, it's I think double-edged sword sort of thing. It's difficult to say because France has been a strategic partner for India for decades. They have not put sanctions against us post 1999 Pokhran nuclear test, and they also been a reliable defense supplier for more than a decade. And we are still flying the Mirage bot, I think 70s, 80s. So they have been reliable suppliers, and if we look at the larger picture, France could be a reliable strategic partner in Indo-Pacific strategy to counter China. But if France is weakened or their politics is not stable and they are find difficult to grow economically, like there has been protests happening everywhere in France. It's not being reported much, but the protests have been happening, and and um, and the France economy is not doing so well. So for India to collaborate with other European nations in which France plays a primary role, because France tries to maintain a independent foreign policy compared to other NATO nations in Europe. France has an independent foreign policy. It has got nuclear weapons other than the US, UK, and it got independent foreign policy. So for us, it's important that France remain politically stable and it remains stronger so that it can play a larger role if you look at Indian perspective. So this could be something to happen in the future. I think that can have Indo-Pacific strategy impact in the longer term. Second, we're going to talk about the Egypt, Ethiopia, Somalia, Turkey. These four nations, what's going on? As you can see in the map, Ethiopia is a landlocked nation and it borders with Eritrea, Somalia, and on the eastern side, and Eritrea and Somalia got coastline on the Red Sea and Arabian Sea. So Ethiopia, being landlocked, has always have a difficulty in achieving economic growth, which they think they can. I mean, they have difficulty achieving economic growth because they feel that they don't have a port to export import the kind of things they want because they have to rely on other nations. So they struck a deal with the Somali Puntland. Now, Puntland is a breakaway province of Somalia next to Ethiopia, and near Eritrea. So they signed a deal with Ethiopia to allow them to use the port on I don't know, I think 10 to 20 lease. So they allow in in return of Ethiopia recognizing that land, that province as a separate nation, as far as I understood that the documents I have seen. Now, this is okay for Ethiopia point of view. It's okay from the point of view of those that breakaway region, Puntland. But Somalia cited this, said that this is a ingressions against sovereignty, that you are recognizing as a region which is already part of Somalia, and they threaten Ethiopia with a lot of things, and there have been round of talks with the mediation of Turkey. I think I'll make a separate video of Turkey's role in Africa. It is growing, and we should pay attention to it. So Turkey is mediating the efforts between Somalia and Ethiopia to calm down the tensions which are growing, and so far there's no results on this. And Ethiopia built a dam on River Nile, and that had some problems of water supply in the Egypt. You may see the Nile River goes for many nations. So Ethiopia built a dam, and it has created problem downstream for Egypt. And Egypt, because of this, is signed a treaty or deal with Somalia. Egypt signed a deal with Somalia to provide weapons, ammunitions, and military training against Ethiopia, possibly because if they may have conflict. So this is an interesting development happening. Now, where does exactly India fits in? Because we had a good dialogue with Egypt. Their president was chief guest on Republic Day this year, and Ethiopia is a member of BRICS, and it's also growing economy of Africa. It suffered from civil war for a long time, but it's also growing economy of Africa, eastern part of Africa. And if we have to secure the trade lines, then we need a political stability on this region or no conflict scenarios. You see, the Red Sea after Suez Canal has two sides, east and west. Eastern side is somehow not controlled by Houthi rebels, so they control. And if some sort of conflict situation erupt between Ethiopia, Somalia, and this breakaway region, some sort of, then you can have those mercenaries groups or pirates. They start hijacking ships. Somalian, Somalian pirates. They start hijacking ships from all the lands because sea lanes are not secure, and this could have problems for India because it's a very important trade routes. And already eastern part is now de facto control. Houthis are attacking ships every day. Media is not covering, but it's happening. They have de facto control of shipping lanes. And if another group emerges, the Somalian pirates, and they start doing the same, then it's going to be nightmare. And we have to invest a lot of resources. We have to send our navy. They have to collaborate with so many other countries. There'll be constant problem, and this can increase the shipping cost if the ships have to go through Africa bypassing Suez Canal. So I think we need to pay attention in India that this region can have potential to again have instability, and this can have implications for India's trade, international export, import, and also economic growth. Third, when we talk about recently concluded elections in Azerbaijan. Now, the ruling party or the ruling family of Azerbaijan has won again in the elections, and there's not going to be much change in the foreign policy of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan supported Pakistan on Kashmir at various forums, and they're still supporting the Pakistan's point of view on Kashmir, and this has been going from decades. Um, so there's not going to be change in the policy on that matter. Also, we are trading with Azerbaijan because it's one of the oil exporting country. So we are, I think, indirectly, directly, we do buy oil from Azerbaijan, or if we are not buying, somebody else. Azerbaijan is also one of the important country on INSTC corridor, International North-South Trade Corridor, which India is going to currently working on from Russia to Iran and to India. So Azerbaijan is one of the nodal points, nodal hubs, and so the Azerbaijan lately become closer to Russia, and also they have been maintaining a good partnership with Western countries like NATO, and they are neighboring country of Iran, and so it's an important nation. Despite their stance on Kashmir, I think we maintain relationship with them, and this election is not going to have impact. It's just that it's just going to have no impact on India's trade, and Russia has maintained good relations with Azerbaijan, so ISTC corridor will also go ahead. So this is just a news. I don't think Azerbaijan is going to change their stance, but in the future, because India is exporting a lot of weapons to Armenia, and we are also, I don't remember if I training the Armenian armed forces, but this can have implications in that way. If we keep supporting Armenia, we keep sending weapons, Indian made weapons, then our Azerbaijan may or may not change stance on other issues, on other things, on an INC corridor and other things. We'll see about that. But this is a news that it's the recent elections are not going to change, have any impact on other policy matters. Russian President Vladimir Putin has visited, or I think he's currently visiting, the country Mongolia. And Mongolia is a landlocked nation, and it's landlocked between China and Russia, so it doesn't have any other country as a border. And there has been news that ICC issued a warrant against Russian president, so Mongolia should arrest Mr. Putin as soon as he lands, which I don't think is going to happen. Nobody's interested in ICC warrants because it's depends on where you sit, in which country you sit. You can see it in a different way. From the point of view India, okay, ICC issued a warrant, but India is not a signatory of the conventions to arrest anybody. And if you ask my view, I think it's looks very biased, because it's just ICC only issuing the warrant based on who they want. It's more like favoring. They never issue warrant against Western countries or their leaders, and ICC doesn't have power to arrest as such unless countries comply and countries choose their own interest. And I don't think Mongolia is going to choose ICC over Russia at any given point of day. So he's visiting, and Mongolia is an important nation for both these countries because the pipeline from Russia to China passed through Mongolia. And recently, there have been visits by U.S. Ambassadors, U.S. high-ranking officials from U.S., and there has been fears that Mongolia may tilt towards west, but that's not going to happen. It's sandwiched between two countries which are now very much opponent of U.S. government. So it will not do anything like that. And India did invest in Mongolia, especially I think there's one refinery which is being financed by Indian government and finished by Medha Engineering. I think it's finished now. I'll try to find a link for you in the description. And because Mongolia follows Buddhism, so they have a spiritual link with India also. And I think their delegations keep coming to India, and we are sending delegations. Spiritual leaders keep going here and there. So Mongolia has a link, and India's Far East policy, Russia's Far East policy, Mongolia can play important role in the future. And Mongolia too have natural resources, vast natural resources. So India's economic growth may be helped by Mongolia's natural resources. So we have to think about how to improve our engagement and how to increase our partnership with Mongolia. So that's all I have to say about some of the important events happened in the past week. And if you like the commentary, please share it with your friends. And if you want to know more about such geopolitical things beyond the traditional sphere, please subscribe to my channel. Till the next video. Namaste.